Hey, for the social studies lesson plan that we wrote, to launch it or to speak to students about it, we put things in our lesson plan like, say, to start the lesson, I would say, hey, today we're going to talk about people who have made an impact in history, because making impacts in history is one of the most important things that history can teach us, history can show us, and so we don't repeat it. And so we're going to have a discussion about that. And then after that, I would like to ask students, does anyone know what it means to make an impact? This goes back to learning high frequency vocabulary, and making sure that students know what they're learning about, what the word impact means. I'd love to have students give me their own definition of the word impact, and then we can have a discussion about that and come to a consensus as a class of what that word means. And then I define it for them if they didn't get anywhere near to it. And then I'd say to have an impact means to have an effect on someone or something. To have an impact can be a positive or negative thing. People who make history have an impact on something, and that is why they are remembered. And then we can go into how George Washington made an impact for our country. Since the lesson plan is all about George Washington, I'd say we're going to go, one person that has made an impact in history is George Washington. We're going to interview him today and learn more about his life and what he did for our country. So let's read learning targets together. I can explain the impact George Washington had on local and national communities. I can list some events that shaped George Washington as a person. I can explain key historical events that occurred during George Washington's life, and I will reflect on events that have shaped me as well as the impact I have had on someone or something. And so as far as the lesson plan's purpose and key points, we decided it would be a good idea to choose some type of history in the classroom. We decided on George Washington and how he made such a difference in the lives of Americans even to this very day. Throughout this lesson, we would like to incorporate the idea of growth mindset because history topics are typically harder for students, especially at an elementary age, just grasping the fact of what they did, how they did it, and what made it so important, and what makes it important for us to still study it today. And so the idea is to focus more on helping the student persevere through the lesson without them getting any type of negative thoughts from the lesson or from not being able to complete it. The main learning objectives to be focused on are students explain the impact George Washington had locally and nationally. Students will be able to list the events that shaped him as a person and so on, the ones I just discussed. So this lesson focuses on two major essential standards of North Carolina Social Studies objectives. Understand how events, individuals, and ideas have influenced the history of local and regional communities, and analyze the impact of contributions made by a diverse historical figure in local communities and regions over time. These standards focus on major goals and resources in social studies in elementary school because it focuses on making students connections to events that have happened in history and key lessons they can take away from those events. And I just personally think it'd be a great lesson to promote civic competency, making an effect on their society, and awareness of their impact on society. And then finally, the three interesting ideas I've learned from not only this class, but from ELM 375 as well, because they both go very well together. And one of my favorite things is how to incorporate student culture in the classroom. I think that's very important. Make them feel comfortable, make them feel welcomed. Teaching current events is something I really learned this semester because I thought it would be hard for students to be able to learn that and understand what's going on, especially at an elementary age. And then finally, all the different ways to focus on growth mindset and helping students persevere through things and just having a positive outlook on everything that they do. Those are the three major key points I've learned this whole year for your class. Connections to field placement. Unfortunately, I did not see anything social studies related in the field. Katie Noblet and I's mentor teacher was not. We had major issues with her. We talked to Keith and Laura about it, and we almost had to move before we went online. So I unfortunately did not see anything connecting to this. And then finally, I'm just really excited to use history in my future classroom and student culture as a teaching point, as a thing that drives students to be motivated to learn all subjects because they'll be comfortable in the classroom and they'll also see different figures in history and knowing that they created their life as well, and they did what they wanted to do, and they persevered through that with the growth mindset. Thank you so much.